Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 origin continent based on novel. So let's start. At the entrance to the sacred land Tienha, one could see an illusory river. However, if one truly flew into it, they would find that this river was infinitely vast. The depths of Tienha, too, had no end. Whoosh 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 tilde tilde tilde. Deep in Tienha, there was a flying boat. Inside the boat, a figure covered in hair sat cross-legged, naturally absorbing the water of Tienha into his body, nourishing his primordial bloodline. Emperor Tien Kuan and the others really are persistent, still blocking me around the perimeter, Yu Shui country master scoffed, but they don't have the guts to come deep into Tienha. On Emperor Tien Kuan's side, there were 6 formidable beings, who were not only searching for Tienha treasures and cultivating in Tienha, but also blocking off key areas. Yu Shui country master was also very patient. It wouldn't matter if it was over 100 eras, or even 1,000, Yu Shui country master had the patience to wait it out. Just keep enduring. If I can advance further and comprehend that ultimate realm secret technique, from the primordial bloodline, then I'll be able to take on all 6 of them by myself. Yu Shui country master looked forward to making further progress. But they all knew how difficult it was to make such progress, as not even eons of time had allowed them to advance further. How difficult it was to break through. Brother Yu Shui, Lan Duo Monarch from Thunder Ancient Country, has entered Tienha. Run away. Suddenly, a message came through. Yu Shui country master received the message and his heart trembled. This is bad. In an instant, Yu Shui country master packed up the flying boat and without any hesitation, dove deeper into Tienha. Rumble 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 tilde tilde tilde, the deeper areas of Tienha were fraught with peril, filled with lurking terror, but at this moment, Yu Shui country master fearlessly burrowed deeper. Suddenly, he spotted an underwater mountain range. Yu Shui country master immediately wanted to approach it, but as he got closer, invisible fluctuations began eroding his body, causing it to rapidly disintegrate. Go! Yu Shui country master tossed the God King grade secret treasure flying boat he held. This secret treasure, which contained all his gains from Tienha over the long eons, resisted the mountain range's fluctuations, and proved to be much tougher than Yu Shui country master's body, ultimately landing within the mountain range. Whoosh! Yu Shui country master immediately turned to flee in another direction. He fled frantically, but after merely flying for a dozen or so breaths, he sensed a terrifying power had already locked onto him from afar. Lan Duo Monarch, Yu Shui country master looked up, this terrifying power locking onto him, and he also saw the source of that power, a towering figure clad in water blue robes. His entire body was covered with blue and white scales, 3 scaled tails, his appearance sacred, his gaze cold and indifferent as he looked directly at Yu Shui country master. Through causality, he easily locked onto Yu Shui country master. Even though they were separated by an immense distance, being within the same range of Tienha allowed Lan Duo Monarch to cast a glance, bringing an endless majesty down upon him. Whoosh! Yu Shui country master's body was tough and full of vitality, constantly absorbing the water of Tienha to sustain himself, but under the overwhelming majesty, he was already half destroyed in less than a breath's time, and in less than a breath's time, Yu Shui country master's body was completely annihilated. All the treasures hidden away. Lan Duo Monarch took a glance, then immediately continued hunting other targets. Tienha seemed vast, but the actual safe areas were quite limited. Lan Duo Monarch, very familiar with these areas, patrolled them one by one, wanting to scout almost all of the major safe zones within Tienha. Monarch. Greetings to Lan Duo Monarch. Within Tienha, the ancient godly kings, especially the independent ones and the guest elders from Flame Wind Ancient Country, were extremely respectful upon sensing this monarch's power. The royal family godly kings from both great ancient countries were not implicated, and the guest elder godly kings from Thunder ancient country were spared as well. As for the others, any other godly kings that this Lan duo monarch found, he exterminated without exception. It's Lan duo monarch from Thunder ancient country. Emperor Tien Kuan received the news, and he and his companions were so frightened that they frantically dove deeper into Tienha. Emperor Tien Kuan was a guest elder of Flame Wind ancient country. Lan duo monarch would not spare him either. In just a short moment, Lan duo monarch patrolled near where Emperor Tien Kuan was, and his intangible domain had already locked onto Emperor Tien Kuan. It's over. Knowing that the terrifying power had locked onto him, Emperor Tien Kuan realized it was over. He even knew that begging for mercy would be futile. Emperor Tien Kuan's body was also annihilated. Within Tienha, the bodies of over 90% of the ancient godly kings, mainly the solitary ones and the guest elders from Flame Wind ancient country, were destroyed under Lan duo monarch's patrolling. Only a handful managed to escape, either due to their impressive escaping abilities, or by leveraging the environment of Tienha. In this patrol by Lan duo monarch within Tienha, both Yushui country master and Emperor Tien Kuan truly died. Of Emperor Tien Kuan's 5 companions, 4 also perished, with only one luckily evading death. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Huyang City. What? Luo Feng also received the news. No help for it, just bad luck to run into Lan duo monarch from Thunder ancient country. Yushui country master transmitted. Luo Feng had never ventured to Tienha. I've heard that the environment in Tienha greatly assists those of the water origin bloodline, but repels other great Dao forces. The only ones from the 2 ancient countries with the water origin bloodline are Emperor Xian and Lan duo monarch, I presume. Search asterisk the novelia.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Right, it's those 2. They have accumulated a profound foundation and rarely come to Tienha now, Yushui country master side, but once they do visit, they will patrol the area. Aside from the imperial clan of the 2 ancient countries and guest elders of our own country, all others will be eliminated without exception. Luo Feng nodded. The environment in Tienha is indeed not easy to hide in. Like the dream domain, which has a vast amount of space, and each space exists independently. One can only be discovered if in the same space. Naturally, the safety there is much higher. Like infinite space, where one must carve out their own great Tao, even when emperors enter, they also possess the same physical bodies and their strength is significantly weakened. This makes it much safer for the scattered cultivators. There are many treasured places that offer some protection to the weak. It's just that the protection varies in strength, and the disadvantage of Tienha is that the safe areas are easily discovered, while the danger zones deep within are difficult to enter. Fortune and disaster are interdependent. Yushui country master transmitted. Tienha is a treasure land for us, and there aren't many crises normally. The dangers of Tienha actually come from other cultivators. Encountering an emperor or monarch can only be chalked up to bad luck. Is there anything I can help you with? Luo Feng asked. No need. The Emperor of Tien Kuan also lost his true body this time, Yushui country master replied with a chuckle through a voice transmission. He doesn't have the guts to come back and cause trouble either. I can sense that, of my 6 enemies, 5 have had their true bodies destroyed. Everyone had suffered massive losses, so Yushui country master felt more at ease. Luo Feng inwardly sighed. Just one monarch's patrol was sufficient to sweep through everything in their path. And the Flame Wind ancient country had 13 emperors, while Thunder ancient country had 9 monarchs. On the side of the scattered cultivators, those in the ultimate realm included the Lord of 10,000 Realms and the Sector Beast, and only a few like the Wind City Empress and Mother River Master were able to match the level of emperors. Over half of these beings were on good terms with the two ancient countries. Although there were many scattered cultivators, their top-level fighting power was too inferior. And this was without counting the ancestors of the two countries above the godly kings, and the ancestor of the East Extreme Domain, who rarely took action. No wonder the scattered cultivators each hide in the shadows, or even join forces established by the three alien races, Luo Feng mused in secret. With the guidance of those three alien races, the scattered cultivators were able to compete with the two ancient countries for resources. There was also a silver lining. Their biggest competitors were each other, the emperors and monarchs. This gave the scattered cultivators a chance to breathe. In the treasured land, infinite space. Above a vast and misty lake stood a small island, where an avatar of Luo Feng was cultivating. Ever since Morosa reached the second realm of Godly King, able to manifest the complete Great Tao of Destruction Origin, Luo Feng's cultivation, in the Great Tao of Destruction Origin, had also entered an eruption period. All his past accumulations were transforming. Whoosh! A dark chaotic hole appeared in the center of Luo Feng's palm, filled with an unbelievable level of resilience and density of life. Inside the hole, forces swirled as countless condensed dark blade lights circulated and merged continuously. 5 lineages unite. Chaotic hole undying light. Luo Feng watched as a blade light, substantial in form, was born within the dark chaotic hole. The blade light's might was terrifying beyond belief, far more dreadful than the strongest move Luo Feng used against Morosa during their sparring, when he wielded the blood shadow knife, with 1/3 of a world life form's strength. The chaotic whole undying light has reached perfection. Luo Feng looked at the blade light forming within the hole in his palm, barely believing it. The first Godly King's second realm secret technique I've conceived is actually from the life and death Tao branch. Yes. The chaotic whole undying light was a concept Luo Feng had fashioned long ago, originating from the path of destruction's heaven-splitting lineage, dark heaven lineage, mixed heaven lineage, then integrating origin of life and life spirituality from the great Tao of life and death, 5 major branches in total. With Luo Feng's realm's growing achievements, the integration and perfection of these 5 branches had been ongoing. Just moments ago, Luo Feng had unknowingly fused these 5 branches into this move chaotic whole undying light completely. The 24 forms and unity secret method he was pondering were theoretically the limit for Godly King First Realm to create. But now, the chaotic whole undying light was a fusion of 5 branches from 2 great Taos. Life, destruction, life and death. 3 great Taos. Yet it's the life and death Tao that I first created a Godly King second realm technique for, Luo Feng pondered with a hint of melancholy. Of course, creating a secret technique does not mean one has reached the second realm of Godly King. One must master the essence of Tao thoroughly to truly break through. Just as Emperor Gui Shu and Wuxin God King had occasionally created ultimate realm secret techniques by chance. But fully mastering the complete Great Tao was still far off. Nevertheless, as a move fully merging the 5 branches, it was already quite remarkable among the Godly King's second realm. After all, the Great Tao of Life Origin and the Great Tao of Destruction Origin were comprised of 6 branches each. Even the techniques currently controlled by Morosa were not as profound as Luo Feng's chaotic whole undying light. Life and death. Luo Feng sat cross-legged on the grass, murmuring to himself as spirit light flickered in his mind. For the first time, with the conception of the Godly King's second realm's life and death secret technique, Luo Feng's understanding of the great Tao of life and death underwent a transformation. In this moment, various life and death Tao branches gradually started to take shape in the depths of Luo Feng's heart. Luo Feng had been in the infinite space treasure trove for over 2 centuries, and his understanding of the great Tao of life and death was immensely profound. On the topic of the great Tao of life and death, he had created 19 different secret techniques, at the first realm of Godly King alone. He didn't care about the quantity of secret techniques. Each one had been comprehended naturally by himself. When he enhanced the chaotic whole undying light to the second realm of Godly King level this time, Luo Feng's accumulation finally underwent a qualitative transformation. One by one, branches of the great Tao of life and death emerged in his mind. Luo Feng meticulously contemplated and integrated them. 3 more days passed before Luo Feng finally stopped. I have comprehended 6 branches of the great Tao of life and death, but, clearly, it's not yet perfected. Luo Feng slightly furrowed his brow. It seems my accumulation is still insufficient to comprehend all branches. How many branches does an origin great Tao have? That was uncertain. For instance, the origin Tao of space has 9 major branches. Entry is relatively easy, but as one goes further, it becomes increasingly difficult. One must eventually merge the 9 branches into one to attain the ultimate realm. The time primordial Tao, with only 3 major branches, is extremely difficult to enter. But once someone becomes a godly king through this path, their strength is terrifying. In the infinite space treasure vault, Luo Feng once saw the perfect inheritance, temporal walker, which involves the fusion of time and space, forming an even more terrifying time-space Tao. Of course, the threshold for cultivation is unbelievably high. Life and destruction, these are 2 great Taos that exist within the supreme rules, each with 6 major branches. With these 2 as my foundation, I cast my own Tao of life and death. The Tao of life and death should have 9 major branches. Luo Feng now had 6 branches comprehended, with the remaining 3 vaguely taking shape. However, to thoroughly penetrate them, he still needed accumulation. The 6 branches I've comprehended are blood-dripping lineage, red sun lineage, annihilation lineage, eternal lineage, black smoke lineage, walker lineage. Having clearly understood these 6 branches, Luo Feng felt somewhat melancholic. After all, my abilities are limited. In the fusion of life and destruction, I discarded too many paths. Luo Feng was very clear about this. Life and destruction, each with their 6 major branches, could integrate some aspects from a few branches during the fusion process, resulting in certain possibilities. Therefore, the branches of the great Tao of life and death, the possibilities are numerous. Perhaps there are 30, 50, or even over 100 possibilities. For example, 36 branches. A total of 108 branches to fully interpret all the mysteries of life and destruction fusion. But exhausting all options is not something Luo Feng, as just a godly king, could accomplish. At this time, one must make choices. Perfection. Luo Feng still hasn't felt its limit. Discarding is a must. Discard the uninteresting ones, choose what you truly desire. Following the direction you've set, then confirm each branch afterward. By discarding a lot, I chose the core parts one wanted. Luo Feng thought, even so, it takes a full 9 major branches. Each branch is stronger than the life 6 major branches, or the 6 branches of destruction. The foundation is exceedingly profound. Sigh. Luo Feng sat cross-legged on this lake-heart island, now standing up to look around him. I've comprehended branches of the great Tao, yet infinite space has not awarded any reward points. Luo Feng speculated, could it be that it needs to be demonstrated? Infinite space, a treasure land, cannot probe the thoughts of every cultivator at every moment. Walker lineage. Luo Feng pointed casually. Buzz. Countless secret patterns emerged naturally, forming a dark humanoid shape. This dark human shadow seemed to contain endless might, yet all of it was condensed within this tiny figure. Every movement appeared capable of destroying heaven and earth. Merely with this one branch, it would already be considered a very strong benchmark in the first realm of Godly King. This dark human shadow was formed by countless secret patterns, which flowed and interpreted the mysteries of the Tao. Infinite space sensed all of this, and immediately information was transmitted to the mark on Luo Feng's palm. Trialist, Luo Feng from Land of Origin. Based on the two great Taos of life and destruction as the foundation, you've pioneered a new great Tao. Evaluation of the new great Tao, superior. Reward points 10,000 points. On this new great Tao, you've finally taken the first step. You must continue to work hard. Body of primal chaos realm, reaching the spiritual will of the ultimate realm of God King, evaluation of spiritual will, superior. Reward points 10,000 points. Your spiritual will is relatively excellent, please continue to maintain it after becoming a godly king. Total reward points, 20,182.01 points. Luo Feng sensed this information, everything was as expected. The reward points for pioneering a great Tao branch, his master Emperor Chu had already told him. Let's try again. Luo Feng extended his hand to point again, and numerous Tao secret patterns converged, eventually coalescing into a drop of blood. This drop of blood, condensed by the Tao secret patterns, faintly contained an endless breath of life, yet it seemed incredibly heavy and even more difficult to shake. This is the blood-dripping lineage. A new great Tao only rewards points for the first Tao branch you comprehend. There are no points for subsequent branches. Earning these points is just too difficult, Luo Feng reflected in frustration. Dealing with the spiritual beings in infinite space alone, on the one hand, takes too long, and on the other hand, the main core areas have been occupied by the great powers. If I act alone, I can only target spiritual beings in remote locations. How many points can one earn from spiritual beings not occupied by the great powers? Therefore, the methods to obtain a large number of reward points still rely on pioneering great Taos and spiritual will. Opening a new branch of the great Tao is even more difficult than reaching the second realm of Godly King, Luo Feng secretly said. The accumulations along his paths of life and destruction were such that with a bit more research, he could quickly reach the second realm of Godly King. The Tao of life and death was the path Luo Feng had chosen during his time in the primordial cosmos, the one he selected from deep within his heart. Yet creating even one branch was so difficult. This demonstrates just how hard it is to gain reward points. Many ancient godly kings believe the value of infinite space is at the very bottom among all the treasure lands, which is understandable. With his talents, Luo Feng has only slightly more than 20,000 points to date. With such points, converted into the merit points of the two ancient countries as a guest elder, it would be only a few 100 million at most. Those ancient godly kings earn far fewer points than Luo Feng. The value of infinite space lies in the inexistent inheritances and treasures outside. Luo Feng immediately reviewed the infinite space treasure vault. The vault contained two types of resources, inheritances and treasures. Most ancient godly kings come to the infinite treasure land at great cost, all for the inheritance within. Here, one can find special grade inheritances, and even perfect inheritances, that are not available in the outside world. On the path of cultivation, the importance of inheritance is surely above that of treasures. With so few reward points, naturally, they should be used where they are most needed. Luo Feng had never bought any treasures before. The Godly King's second realm chapters of world life form and chaotic whole beast body both require 3,000 reward points. That's a total of 6,000 points, which I need to reserve. With such a scarce amount of points, Luo Feng was only willing to set aside one special grade inheritance for both the paths of life and destruction. The ultimate chapters of a special grade inheritance were too expensive, he couldn't afford to read them for the time being. Let's check the treasures. Once exchanged, treasures in the infinite space can be teleported directly to the true body in the land of origin. Treasures information. Ranked number 1 was the Heart's Desire flying boat, which required 20,000 points to exchange. It was a flying boat beyond Godly King level, stable and robust, unbreakable within the source world, capable of instant travel to any location within the source world. Unbreakable within the source world. Luo Feng found this very tempting. To think that one could even purchase a God King grade secret treasure with reward points from the infinite space. Such treasures could surely make even the emperors and monarchs of the two ancient countries envious. If I bought it, I wouldn't dare to use it, Luo Feng thought and moved on. The second ranked treasure was the Dao map, which required 20,000 points to exchange. The Dao map could deduce secret techniques suitable for oneself and analyze the great Dao to assist in cultivation, significantly improving the efficiency of comprehension. The weaker the strength, the better the assistive effects of the Dao map. It could even ease one's path to the peak of the second realm of Godly King. Danger reminder: to master a complete great Dao still requires self-enlightenment. The Dao map cannot help in the slightest. And because one relies on the Dao map for early enlightenment, the difficulty of attaining a complete great Dao eventually becomes extremely high. Please choose carefully. If you use it merely to deduce secret techniques suited for yourself, there will be no future troubles. The 9th ranked treasure, a Lotus Heart Seed, required 18,000 points to exchange. The Lotus Heart Seed could grow a life lotus within one's internal universe, making the internal universe more stable and the physical body full of endless vitality, greatly enhancing physical strength. The flesh body and the great Tao of life origin have a perfect affinity, significantly increasing the efficiency of cultivation, as if one were the favored child of the great Tao of life. This Lotus Heart Seed is a good item, Luo Feng thought covetously. Strengthening his world life form could naturally advance his strength further. More importantly, it could make him the favored child of the great Tao of life. The only problem was the high price. Luo Feng couldn't bear to spend all 18,000 points in one go. The treasure destruction scale, one piece required 12,000 points to exchange. Fusing the destruction scale into the body could transform one's flesh into the body of a destruction demon race, perfectly matching the great Tao of destruction origin, and greatly increasing cultivation efficiency, as if one were the favored child of the great Tao of destruction origin. Danger reminder: 1. Fusing with the destruction scale will bring an onslaught of a killing will, and one's spiritual will must reach the ultimate realm of God King to integrate successfully. 2. It is recommended to have an avatar before exchanging. If there is only one true body, transforming into the body of a destruction demon race will affect the cultivation of other great Taos. Transform into the body of a destruction demon race. Luo Feng was tempted. He had an avatar, and his spiritual will fit the requirement. Of all the treasures he had seen, the Lotus Heart Seed and the Destruction Scale were the most appealing, because both could aid in the cultivation of the great Taos of life and destruction. The Lotus Heart Seed was more helpful and carried no dangers. Yet, the Destruction Scale was much cheaper. The novel, F. I.et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Become the favored child of the great Tao of destruction origin. I want to try what it feels like to be a favored child of the Tao. Luo Feng carefully reviewed all the treasure information, and without further hesitation, decided on the destruction scale. Exchange. Luo Feng gritted his teeth. The hard-earned reward points, a full 12,000, were all spent at once. An invisible fluctuation descended quickly, and a destruction scale had already arrived at the quiet room in the Huyang City Lord's mansion, in Luo Feng's hands. This video will end here.